Hi everybody, welcome to this workshop in which we are going to knit our very own medieval cantiga. I'm Ali. Technically I'm a viol player and I usually spend most of my life in a slightly later century than the century we are going to be spending this workshop in, but I was looking for something that I thought could involve as many different people as possible, that could accommodate lots of different instruments and lots of different voices and would work in this digital setting. So I've opted for a medieval cantiga in the hope that we might just enjoy ourselves experimenting slightly with putting together our own orchestrated version of it. So I hope we might have fun. This piece comes from a book called, or a collection called the Livre Vermell de Montserrat, the Red Book of Montserrat. It's a 14th century collection of pilgrimage songs. It's called the Red Book not because that was what it was originally known as, but because when it was catalogued and bound together in the 19th century, they gave it a red binding. So it's just become known as the Red Book because of that. Red Book of Montserrat, so it was compiled and it is still living in the monastery in Montserrat, which is just outside Barcelona in Catalonia. So that is where it's been since its origin in the 14th century. It's a collection of all sorts of songs. None of them have any composers' names given to them, and we don't know the name of the compiler either, but we do know the purpose for which they were written. And I'm just going to read you a little bit of what the compiler writes. So the monastery at Montserrat contains a shrine of the Virgin of Montserrat, which was a major site of pilgrimage. And I don't know whether you're familiar with stories from places like Santiago de Compostela and other famous pilgrimage sites. There are various accounts written of how pilgrims got quite carried away and quite excited when they got to their sites of pilgrimage, and they were actually known for quite rowdy behaviour and very loud singing, and there are various letters from bishops bewailing the behaviour of the pilgrims that have visited their site. And the compiler here says, "The pilgrims wish to sing and dance while they keep their watch at night in the church of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Montserrat, and also in the light of day. And in the church, no songs should be sung unless they are chaste and pious. For that reason, these songs that appear here have been written. And these should be used modestly, and take care that no one who keeps watch in prayer and contemplation is disturbed." So our job for the day is to not disturb anyone. I hope we manage it. Things that you will need for this session. You will need a copy of the music, do print it out. You will need a pencil, and you really will need a pencil. Don't rely on your memory for this, because there's going to be quite a lot to think about and quite a lot to do, so really do have a pencil to hand. I'm going to refer largely to recorders, strings, voices, just for the sake of having convenient categories to refer to. If you've brought your sousaphone, please don't put it away and think that because I haven't mentioned it by name you're not allowed to play the sousaphone. It's fine. You can play any instrument you like, and as we go through it'll become obvious what will suit and where you might fit. Viol players, we're at 440 pitch. Any size of viol will work. You might find that you've got slightly more options with tenor and bass, but treble viol is fine. Other string players, you're welcome at whatever size, shape, pitch that you come as. Singers of all voices, you will find a home as we go through. You might put things in different octaves to the octaves that I sing them in, but that's entirely up to you. And recorder players, I would just have a pile of recorders to hand. I've got several over here. Have several, because you might find you develop a preference for one or the other as we go through, or you might actually decide to change partway through the session, and that's also fine. Singers, you might have an instrument to hand if you fancy, and likewise players, you might find that you fancy singing a bit as well. So We're going to be a little bit exploratory in this, and I would encourage you to try things out and see what you enjoy. You might find that you can do things that you didn't realise you were able to do. That's what I'm hoping might happen. So let's have a look then. I've chosen Cantiga number 14 from this collection, and Belinda Sykes, you'll notice this is her transcription of it, and she's very kindly allowed us to use it for this workshop. So we'll start by learning what I'm going to refer to as the chorus, which is the bottom 4 lines of the piece, the Ave Maria. I don't know what your medieval Catalan is like. Mine is non-existent, so I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the words of the verse, which is the top half of the page. And I'm actually going to suggest that we do that section instrumentally and that the voices provide some vocalised harmony. If you're brave enough to pronounce the medieval Catalan, then feel free, but I am not going to attempt it. We'll start by looking at the chorus then, the bottom half of the page. So pick an instrument, pick an octave if you're a singer. This is a G. I'll count you in. I'm going to count 2 bars in because I'm going to sing this as well as play it, and I need a chance to breathe, so I'll count you a bar and half of an extra bar, and then we can sing together. There's your G, and we'll just sing the chorus through. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. So that's our chorus, and that's the basis of the whole piece. You'll get used to that. It's going to come a lot of times. Let's just do it once more, shall we? Whatever instrument you like, whatever octave you fancy, I'll count 2 bars in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. It's a nice tune, isn't it? But what are we going to do with it, especially if there's an ensemble of us? So you'll see that Belinda has really helpfully suggested some chords. She's suggested C and D minor. We're going to ignore the minor bit. We're just going to use open chords. So chords with their root and their fifth, but no third. So you won't need to know whether it's major or minor. You'll just need to know whether it's C or D. And the easiest way of adding harmony would be to simply play the bass note of the chord that she's suggested. So you'd play a bar of C and 3 bars of D, a bar of C, a bar of D, and it would work like this. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. And again, you can play that line on any instrument you like, and it doesn't matter really what octave it is in, because you'll have some colleagues who will play it in a low enough octave for the harmony to be nicely grounded, and we'll build that up as we go along. And the harmony is not confined to the instrumentalists. If you're a singer, there's no reason why you couldn't sing that bass line, again in whatever octave you like, but using the rhythm and the words of the melody. So you'd sing Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. We're going to try this out. So the beauty of this technology, although Obviously it would be nicer to be here in person. The beauty of the technology means that as we go through and each time we add something new, I can play the things that we've previously talked about, and then you and I can add each new line as we go along. So the melody is going to be provided for you by another version of me, and we are going to practice singing and playing the bass line of the chords that have been suggested. So you'll need a C, and I'll count you 2 bars in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. Already, just by adding that really simple bass line, it's starting to sound more like a piece of music, isn't it? So what do we do next? The most obvious, simplest next form of harmony to add would be a fifth above the bass line. So when there's a C chord, you add a G above it, and when it's a D chord, you can add an A above it. So now if you're a string player, you can play both of those notes potentially at the same time. If you're a singer or a wind player, you're going to have to pick one or the other. But again, singing, you could sing the fifth, so starting on a G. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. And by adding both, Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. So it's just starting to fill the harmony out a bit, isn't it? So this time we will practice playing the fifth, or singing the fifth. 2 bars in. So you're going to start on a G. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. So now you've got choices. You could either play or sing the melodic line. You could play or sing the bass line starting on a C. You could play or sing the fifth starting on a G. You could do a bit of both. What if you're a recorder player? You might start out by playing the tune. And then halfway through, think I fancy a change. Or if you're a singer, you might sing the tune for the first 2 lines and sing the bass line for the second 2 lines. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, Virgo serena. So there are choices. Experiment, try some things out. Let's do a complete version of the chorus, and you can take your pick as to what you play. 2 bars in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. It would be really nice to add some rhythmic backing, and it would be really nice if I didn't need to count in at the beginning. My house is full of viols and recorders, it is less full of percussion. So as a rhythmic option, I'm going to add some pizzicato. Which hopefully will just help to keep things moving a bit. So string players, what I'm doing is the root, the fifth and the octave. So C, G, C, D, A, D. It's only 2 chords, isn't it, for this chorus? C, G, C, D, A, D. I guess there's no reason why recorder players couldn't spread the chord like that either. So this means that I can give you an introduction without having to count in. I'm going to play the whole of the last line of the chorus. So it'll be a 5-bar intro, and then let's do the chorus once through again. Pick your line, swap halfway through if you fancy. You get the whole of the last line as an intro. Let's have a look at the verse then, the top 4 lines of the page. As previously said, I'm not going to try and pronounce the medieval Catalan, but singers, I have an alternative suggestion for a job for you in this section, so just bear with me for a second. Let's play it. Hum it, sing it if you like. This is just the melodic line of the verse starting on this C. 2 bars in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Go back into the chorus, etc, etc. Let's play the verse again, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And let's have a think about the harmony. Look at the chords that Belinda has suggested. So let's play the bass note of each. I quite like the idea of putting it as low in your instrument as you can find, just so that we start to really stretch out the range that's available to us. So let's have a go at playing just the bass note of each of the chords in the verse, or singing. And I think it would be nice to just vocalise. See what you think. bass notes of the chords in the verse. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the fifth above each of those, so a fifth above F is C, fifth above G is D, fifth above the A will give you E. What else do you need? Oh yeah, fifth above E, that's a B, isn't it? Shall we practice that then? So singing or playing a fifth above the printed bass note. So you're going to want a C to start with. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. C, D, D, E, D, B, 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 C, D, D, E, D, B, 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 A. So I'm suggesting that we make the verses an instrumental feature with the singers humming either the bass or the fifth of the harmony. And I'm also going to suggest that we do several versions of the verse. So can we try one where the string players play the melodic line and the wind players and the singers provide the harmony? So if you're a string player, you're going to play the tune at whatever pitch you like. And if you're a singer or a wind player, you're going to play either the F, the G, the G, A, or you're going to start on a C. Rise to D, D, E. So if you're a recorder player, just pick whichever of those sits most comfortably on your instrument. So if you're playing an F fingering recorder and your bottom F is maybe a bit dodgy and you think I don't really want to play it at the top of the instruments, play the fifths, play a 3-fingered C to start with. So just experiment with which of these is going to fit best on the instrument that you've got to hand. This is the verse then. String players playing the tune, recorder players, singers providing the harmony. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And why don't we do one the other way round? So this time, wind players will play the melody and strings, you're going to provide the harmony. If you're doing the pizzicato part, if you've been trying that out, just work out where your octaves and your fifths are. It's nice to keep the pizzicato part rippling through, that's our rhythm section, isn't it? Wind players, you might just think about a couple of little bits of ornamentation. So we tongue the change of note, don't we, on a recorder? But if this was on particularly a bagpipe type instrument where tonguing is not an option, they change their notes by flicking fingers. So if I was going to play 3 repeated A's on a recorder, I could tongue them, but you could find them by flicking a finger. So just starts to add that feeling that we're maybe not quite constrained to the later models of instruments, but we're a little bit kind of freer in the way that we interpret, the way we move between notes. You'll notice that when I was bowing, I was just slurring completely freely, whole bars to a bow, because why not? You know, there's nothing to suggest that we shouldn't. There's nothing to say you must play each of these notes on a separate bow, or you must only slur these pairs together. And the other thing that is a much later invention is the concept of semitones and fixed numbers of pitches within octaves. Why can't we be a little bit more experimental about the way we move from one note to the next? So a G to an A, but we could move slightly more subtly than that. So you might experiment. Now here's another thing you might think about. It's a long way between that bottom E and the next C that you're about to play. How about some kind of fill-in? Very, very straightforward. Or leave it later. Give yourself a chance to breathe in the middle. Just try some things out and see what happens. So this is a version of the verse where the wind players are playing the melodic line, the string players and the singers providing the harmony. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So I'm going to suggest a structure for the whole version of our piece. You will need your pencil if you haven't already used it. We will start with the chorus, and in the chorus, the Ave Maria, you can do whatever you like. Sing whatever line you fancy, play whatever line you fancy. That's the first chorus. I will give you the 5-bar intro to start with. Then we'll do a verse. And similarly, we'll have a complete free-for-all, except singers, can you provide the harmony rather than singing the melodic line? But instrumentalists, you can do whatever you like in the verse. We'll come back to the chorus. As you wish, pick a line, pick an octave, and we'll definitely have the voices singing the words. Verse 2. Let's have the string players playing the melody, and if you're a wind player or a singer, can you provide the harmony in verse 2? Back to the chorus again. Free choice, do what you like. The next verse, let's swap roles, so we'll have the wind players playing the melody, string players, singers providing the harmonic part, and we'll finish up with a final chorus, and again take your pick as to what you play in that. Shall I just whiz through that again? So we'll begin with an intro, pizzicato intro from the viol. Chorus, you choose what you play. Verse, you choose what you play, but voices, we will feature the instruments in the verse. Chorus, take your pick, anything goes. Verse 2, string players playing the tune, wind players and singers providing the harmony. Chorus, free for all, take your pick. Verse 3, wind players playing the melody, strings and voices providing the harmony, and a final chorus to finish. One other thought, that as we go through, at the moment I've used large vials and large recorders. You might think about, if you've got a descant to hand, or dare I say it, even if you have a sopranino up your sleeve, you might wait until perhaps the verse where the recorder players have the tune, or perhaps the chorus just before it, and start to bring in the higher pitch instruments. You might also do this perhaps vocally, so you might start on the recorder verse. You could play the tune, couldn't you, and it will come out an octave higher than anything we've heard so far. But then what about making a feature of the higher pitch? And for the second half of the verse, how about deliberately exploring the higher range of the instrument? So you might start with a C, the fifth of the F chord, and rise to a D. Rise to an E over that A minor chord. So you're deliberately exploring the top range. And singers, soprano voices, you might do the same, mightn't you? Start at the pitch of the C of the verse, but then take your voice higher and explore the harmony up there. If you're feeling really brave, you might do the final chorus, perhaps up an octave. Just so that we are expanding the range that's available to us, and by the same principle, bass voices, bass instruments, what's the lowest you could pitch, particularly the bottom of the harmony, so that as we go through the various verses and choruses, we get this feeling of the ensemble expanding out. Let's try a complete run of the whole thing, shall we? did you get on? There's quite a lot to remember, isn't there, between verse and chorus and what did we decide about who would play the tune and was I supposed to be playing the harmony and which way round did we say we'd do it. But I hope that within that there's also quite a lot of fun involved in the freedom of being able to choose which bit you experiment with. You can't really get it wrong because the only part that actually exists is the melodic line and everything else is our own invention, so the whole thing is completely experimental. I suggest that we just play the whole lot through again and that you keep experimenting, keep trying out what happens if, can I play and sing at the same time? What happens if I try this an octave higher? What happens if I put it an octave lower? Recorder players, what about dropping out in one of the choruses and coming back in a verse with an instrument that's deliberately higher? So just keep experimenting, enjoy it, and play it through as many times as you like.